Chapter 47. When Judd Crandall was sitting in the ladder-backed rocker and watching for him out of his bay window, Lewis was eating a big, tasteless dinner in the Howard Johnsons' dining room. The food was plentiful and dull, exactly what his body seemed to want. Outside, it had grown dark. The headlights of the passing cars probed like fingers. He shoveled the food in: a steak, a baked potato, a side dish of beans, which were of it melting into a soft drool. He ate at a corner table, watching people come and go, wondering if he might not see someone he knew. In a vague way, he rather hoped that would happen. It would lead to questions. Where's Rachel? What are you doing here? How's it going? And perhaps the questions would lead to complications, and maybe complications were what he really wanted: a way out. And, as a matter of fact, a couple that he did know came in just as he was finishing his apple pie and his second cup of coffee. Rob Grinnell, a Bangor doctor, and his pretty wife Barbara. He waited for them to see him, sitting here in the corner at his table for one, but the hostess led them to the booths on the far side of the room, and Lewis lost sight of them entirely, except for an occasional glimpse of Grinnell's prematurely graying hair. The waitress brought Lewis his check. He signed for it, jotting his room number under his signature, and left by the side door. Outside, the wind had risen to near gale force. It was a steady, droning presence, making the electrical wires hum oddly. He could see no stars, but had a sense of clouds rushing past overhead at high speed. Lewis stood on the walk for a moment, hands in pockets, face tilted into that wind. Then he turned back and went up to his room and turned on the television. It was too early to do anything serious, and that night wind was too full of possibilities. It made him nervous. He watched 4 hours of TV, 8 back-to-back half-hour comedy programs. He realized it had been a very long time since he had watched so much TV in a steady, uninterrupted stream. He thought that all the female leads on the sitcoms were what he and his friends had called cock teasers back in high school. In Chicago, Dory Goldman was wailing. "Fly back? Honey, what do you mean you want to fly back? You just got here." In Ludlow, Judd Crandall sat by his bay window, smoking and drinking beer, motionless, examining the mental scrapbook of his own past and waiting for Lewis to come home. Sooner or later, Lewis would come home, just like Lassie in that old movie. There were other ways up to the pet cemetery and the place beyond, but Lewis didn't know them. If he intended to do it, he would begin from his own dooryard. Unaware of these other happenings, like slow-moving projectiles aimed not at where he was, but rather in the best ballistics tradition at the place where he would be, Lewis sat and watched the Hojo color television set. He had never seen any of these programs before, but he had heard vague rumors of them. A black family, a white family, a little kid who was smarter than the rich grown-ups he lived with, a woman who was single, a woman who was married, a woman who was divorced. He watched it all, sitting in the 𝘰𝘠𝘸𝘠 chair and glancing out every now and then at the blowy night. When the 11 o'clock news came on, he turned the television off and went out to do what he had decided to do, perhaps at the very moment he had seen Gage's baseball cap laying in the road full of blood. The coldness was on him again, stronger than ever, but there was something beneath it, an ember of eagerness, or passion, or perhaps lust. No matter. It warmed him against the cold and kept him together in the wind. As he started the Honda's engine, he thought that perhaps Judd was right about the growing power of that place, for surely he felt it around him now, leading, or pushing, him on, and he wondered